This is the fourth and the final episode in the Back to the Basics series. Now, I'm recording this in January 2022, but no matter when you're seeing this information I feel is going to be relevant. My name is Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the QuickStart Academy, which houses the boot camp, which is the premier training I do. And I have a live virtual boot camp February 4th and 5th. We'll talk about it later on in this episode, and there'll be a link below if you'd like to get more information on it. But my intent here is to provide a lot of value in this Back to the Basics series, whether you're in the boot camp or not. Because if you're getting in the self-storage business or growing your self-storage business in today's environment, and you're a small investor, this type of information is what you need. So I think self-storage is not unlike any other endeavor in life. People who are successful are not the people who know what to do, although you got to know what to do. People who are successful are not the people who even want it, although you've got to want success to be successful. The people who are successful are the people who take action. Specific knowledge in getting in self-storage or growing self-storage today may be different than other endeavors, but the taking action part is the same. And I'm talking about taking action even when you're uncertain or you're afraid. And yes, I use the word afraid. Every entrepreneur in any endeavor, in any business, will tell you that one of the main keys to their success is their ability to take action even when they're afraid. And when you're going into new territory, uncharted water, putting money at risk, you're afraid. It's just a biological byproduct of our evolution. The same synapses in the brain fire when our money is at risk as when a saber-toothed tiger was approaching us 100,000 years ago. It generates fear. Every human being experiences it. And business owners and entrepreneurs have to be able to deal with the emotions that being in business for yourself generates. So we discuss that in our boot camps. We talk in the training we do. We talk about specific ways, mindsets to have and to develop as you're growing your self-storage business, and specific techniques for dealing with how to take action regardless of what you're thinking or what you're feeling. Now, in the last two episodes, I've introduced you to Jim and I've introduced you to Fred. Both are people who got in the self-storage business in today's environment. They got in with vastly different strategies. They own polar opposite types of self-storage, but both of them had to take action, even when they felt uncertain, even when they had fear. And I've also tried to structure the boot camps in such a way that there is follow-up so they can communicate with other people, not just me, but other people who have been exactly where they were and what they did to move through it and the action steps they took and where they are right now. Both Fred and Jim use the techniques to lay out their business strategy, to find opportunities and analyze them that we talk about. Jim's was a large conversion with acres and acres of land to develop for parking and non-climate self-storage. So when he was done, it was over 80,000 square feet of self-storage and a boatload of parking. And then he did the exact same process and did another conversion almost simultaneously in the same market. Fred's was the opposite. Fred found a small mom and pop facility that he could take over, reduce the operating expenses, and bring that smaller facility, 30,000, 25,000 square feet or so, into this century in the self-storage business. Both are great plans. Both met the needs of Jim and Fred based on where they were in life, what their resources were, and what their goals were. Both of them had to control the properties. So what both of them did was they used a letter of intent process. And the letter of intent, they're dealing with, if there's a real estate agent, the real estate agent and the seller directly negotiating the important items like price, due diligence, contingencies. And then they had an attorney involved in doing the contract process. Both of them went through that process we teach in the boot camp. And then both of them went through the due diligence process that we go over in the boot camp. Now, Jim's due diligence process with his large multi-million-dollar projects with site work and development and conversions and getting approvals, it literally had every aspect of due diligence you can possibly have in a storage project, was vastly different than Fred's, where he was buying an existing property. But in the boot camp, and what they learned is they learned the spaces that you go through, no matter what the due diligence is, what's got to be covered, and how to put a team together to support you in that due diligence process. In Fred's case, I mean, he did most of it himself because he had the knowledge to do it from what he's learned, and he did get some help with some inspections. And in Jim's case, he had a massive team of attorneys, engineers, architects, and general contractors. But both of them went through the due diligence process successfully. And in the due diligence process, what each of them were able to do was to pay and get third-party vendors to validate or tell them where they were wrong in their assumptions. And then both of them reran their numbers to see if, in light of the real information that they received during the due diligence, the real cost of X, Y, and Z, and what the real income and expenses are or are going to be, does the project still work? In most cases, the people who do the feasibility reports will also run their own pro forma. And in almost all cases, at least with the people in the boot camp, the pro formas that the people running the feasibility reports run are generally more bullish than the ones that we run ourselves. So we get validation on our assumptions, and where we were wrong on our assumptions, we change it. Then at the end of the due diligence process, it's simply a question of, okay, does it meet my need or does it not meet my need? Here are my benchmark numbers I've got to hit. It's either a yes or a no. If it's a no, can I get it at a price that turns it into a yes? Now, even in most cases, when you're in a position to remove all the contingencies, it still takes something to do that. That's the type of action we're talking about. Both Fred and Jim took that action. It's one thing to have everything work out on paper, and it's another thing to actually do it in real life. But I acknowledge both of them and the countless people that we've worked with that are willing to take action, take on something real new, usually with one or more zeros behind it in anything they've ever done, and move forward and pull the trigger and jump into the business. Here's one of the secrets that both of them learned and deployed. It's called momentum. And one of the very first conversations we have in the boot camp on day one, morning one, is how to create momentum in the self-storage business. And I've designed the training and the follow-up and everything, and I give some very specific ways, even though you've never been in the business and you're into uncharted water, how you can actually, there's a way to actually begin to create momentum. Because once momentum starts in your self-storage business, that takes you from step to step to step. And any step along the way, you can pull the plug and go do another project or look at another opportunity. But most people end up closing because they know what they're doing and they've done their homework and they validated their homework. And both Fred and Jim had very different first 90 days when they put their project into service. Fred was emptying out a lot of slow pays and no pays, upgrading the facility, changing a lot of management practices, getting systems into place, putting some technology into place to help run the place. Jim was up to his neck in construction, working with contractors, and both had a very different first 90 days, but both of them turned successful projects. In fact, Jim's has been so successful that within 3 years he just sold the very first project he did, created multi-million-dollar profit from it, and is now exchanging that into 3 different opportunities, 2 ground up and 1 existing. These, both Jim and Fred, are no smarter. They're probably smarter than I am, but they're really no smarter than anyone else I work with. They were just willing and developed the ability to take action, minimize their downside, and take action. Maybe you're that type of person too. So if you'd like to start creating some momentum and feel like you need some support or some specific training on getting in the self-storage business today, and what are the numbers and what's the process or what type of deals should I be going after, maybe the Self-Storage Bootcamp is for you. So we have one coming up February 4th and 5th. There's a link below, and you can find out more specific information about what's covered in it. If you're still unsure, you can schedule a phone call with me. We can see if it works. Not everyone I talk to I suggest it for. And I've got to limit the number of people because let's say you're in the Houston, Texas market. I can't have anybody else from, or let's say it's Houston and Dallas. I can't have anybody else from Houston and Dallas in that particular boot camp because I don't want to create an environment where you feel like you're competing. So we limit the number of people because everybody has a different kind of geographical area that will be their marketplace, and I don't put anyone else in there. Plus, there's a lot of, as you can tell, one-on-one work in the boot camp and in the follow-ups, and if there's a large group, there's just no way to do it and for me to deliver what I promise out of the boot camp. So if you feel like this could really support you today, my suggestion is don't wait, just look below, get the information you need. If the information isn't on the web page in the link to give you enough to decide if it's going to support you, reach out and call me. We'll have a straight one-on-one conversation. Everyone's different. Everyone comes with a different set of skill sets and different set of knowledge and background, and I'll be straight and tell you if I think it's for you or not. And if you're seeing this after February 4th and 5th, 2022, click the link below. There'll be upcoming boot camps, and there's also an on-demand version of the boot camp. Both of them will have the same follow-ups that we're talking about. So thank you very much. I hope this Back to the Basics series has given you a glimpse into what it takes today to get in or grow your self-storage business, what the specific challenges are, and how to overcome them, what the solution to them is. So thank you very much, and I look forward to being with you next week.